Normally, Saudi Arabia is known for its oil and immense wealth. But behind this glittering image lies a deeply unsettling reality. Despite being one of the richest countries in the world, Saudi Arabia is deprived of one of nature's most essential blessings, water. It's like owning a palace made of gold, yet having only 2 sips of drinking water. Saudi Arabia is the only country in the world with not a single natural river. Nearly 98% of its land is covered in scorching desert, and rainfall is almost non-existent. Yet today, right in the heart of that same desert where silent sand dunes stretch for miles, Saudi Arabia has begun creating its own rivers. These are not ordinary rivers. Here, water doesn't flow down from mountains. Instead, it is pumped upward, climbing toward them. Thousands of kilometers of freshwater pipelines and a massive artificial river network now appear to challenge the very laws of nature. But the real question is, when this country has no natural water sources, where is all this water coming from? And even more astonishing, how was this seemingly impossible feat made possible? Viewers, as you already know, Saudi Arabia's climate is extremely hot and dry. For example, in the capital city Riyadh, the average annual rainfall is just 116 millimeters. Back in 1950, the country's population was around 3 million. Today it has grown to more than 26 million. This rapid increase has placed unbearable pressure on the nation's water reserves. So when Saudi Arabia doesn't even have natural rivers, where does its fresh water actually come from? To meet its needs, the Saudi kingdom relied for a very long time on deep underground aquifers. This water is known as fossil water that accumulated beneath the earth over millions of years and would take millions more to replenish. In other words, it is a non-renewable water reserve. For several decades, Saudi Arabia fulfilled nearly 70% of its water demand by extracting this fossil water. But the consequences of this excessive use turned out to be terrifying. A report based on NASA's GRACE satellite mission data shocked Saudi authorities when it revealed that between 2002 and 2016, underground water reserves in Saudi Arabia were disappearing at a rate of nearly 2 cubic kilometers every year. That means the country was consuming around 2 trillion liters of fossil water annually at the time. Saudi Arabia's population was about 18 million, which translates to roughly 310 liters of water per person per day. While the global average is only about 150 liters per person daily, it was like using a battery that can never be recharged. Not only did the country have no natural rivers, but it was also recklessly draining its only water source. But what caused this massive overuse? The water crisis intensified even further in the 1970s, when the government decided that instead of relying on other countries, Saudi Arabia would grow its own wheat. The plan began with good intentions, but it ended up completely destroying any concept of water conservation. The government introduced subsidies for wheat farming and encouraged farmers, leading to a rapid expansion of agriculture. By 2003, nearly 85% of the country's total water consumption was being used by the agricultural sector alone. This mistake drained water reserves so aggressively that within just 3 decades, the government was forced to shut down the wheat farming program altogether. Faced with this looming disaster, authorities decided that whatever fossil water remained would be reserved strictly for emergencies. Now the question becomes clear. If Saudi Arabia can no longer rely on its only water source, then where will its fresh water come from? This groundbreaking project is a plan to build the world's largest artificial river on idea that is revolutionary not only in scale, but also in vision. Stretching nearly 12,000 kilometers, this man-made river is being constructed entirely underground. A project of this magnitude has never been attempted anywhere in the world before. Under this plan, around 9.4 million cubic meters, about 9.4 billion liters of water will be produced every single day using advanced desalination technology. Through this process, seawater from the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf will be converted into fresh, drinkable water. The artificial river will flow beneath the ground to minimize water loss from evaporation in the extreme desert heat. Its width and depth have been carefully engineered to ensure a continuous, non-stop flow of water to different parts of the country. even to regions facing the most severe water shortages in areas located high in the mountains. This project is not just about supplying water. Through it, Saudi Arabia aims to revive its dream of agricultural self-sufficiency, growing its own crops and reducing dependence on other countries. A dream that was once considered impossible on this land. With this sustainable and virtually unlimited water supply, Saudi Arabia plans to bring greenery back to its barren deserts, cut down its reliance on food imports, and diversify its economy beyond oil. The artificial river is designed to be 11 meters wide and 4 meters deep. And astonishingly, this entire network spans nearly 12,000 kilometers, meters in length. To carry water to remote regions, special anti-corrosion pipes with a diameter of 2.25 meters are being used. This pipeline network is so vast that its total length could be more than twice that of the Nile River, clearly highlighting the massive scale of this project. This engineering marvel is not just creating a new source of water, but an entirely new system, something the world had never even imagined before. In fact, if all these pipes were laid out in a straight line, they could wrap around the Earth itself. While the pipeline network can transport water across the country, the biggest challenge lies elsewhere, turning salty seawater into fresh water along the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf. 28 desalination plants have been built. Their job isn't just to remove salt from seawater, but to do it using less electricity, less energy, and with minimal pollution. And this is no easy task, especially when demand is extremely high and there isn't a single natural freshwater source. The first major technology used here is multi-stage desalination. These are massive plants designed to separate salt from water. On the surface, the process sounds simple. Heat the water, turn it into steam, and then condense it. But the scale of this operation is truly mind-blowing. Imagine hundreds of steel tanks, each as long as a football field, where seawater is boiled. The water is then transferred into another chamber, where the pressure is gradually reduced, allowing it to evaporate at lower temperatures. This steam is then condensed and collected as fresh water in a separate chamber. The biggest advantage of this process is that it works efficiently even on a very large scale. Plus, the remaining steam is used to spin turbines, recovering part of the energy that was originally spent heating the water. This helps generate electricity and improves overall efficiency. Alongside distillation, another technology being rapidly developed in Saudi Arabia is reverse osmosis. This technology is inspired by the biology of human cells. In reverse osmosis, seawater is forced through ultra-thin polymer membranes with incredibly tiny pores, so small that if 1 square inch were divided into 1,000,000 parts, a single part would still be larger than these openings. The pores are so fine that not only salt, but even viruses cannot pass through them. This system filters out up to 99% of salts and minerals, producing perfectly pure water. The most impressive part of this technology is its energy efficiency. Thanks to pressure recovery devices, modern reverse osmosis plants require very little energy to produce 1,000 liters of water, 2.8 kilowatts of electricity. In other words, producing 1,000 liters of fresh water requires roughly the same amount of power as a household water pump. Today, about 66% of Saudi Arabia's total water demand is met through desalination. Alongside this, more than 500 dams have been built across the country. With a combined storage capacity of nearly 2 billion cubic meters. For example, the King Fahd Dam alone can store over 325 million cubic meters of water, making it the largest dam in the country. These reserves don't just provide drinking water to millions of people, they also support agriculture in the desert and help recharge underground aquifers. But at this point, another question naturally comes to mind. When such massive amounts of salt are removed from water every day, what happens to all that salt? Keep in mind that 1 liter of seawater contains roughly 35 grams of salt. So if Saudi Arabia is producing 9.4 billion liters of fresh water daily, that means around 329,000 tons of salt are left behind every single day. How heavy is that? To put it into perspective, world's heaviest animal, the blue whale, weighs only about 200 tons. This leftover salt is released back into the sea, And because such enormous quantities are discharged in concentrated areas, many dead coral zones have now formed in the Red Sea, where marine life has completely disappeared, has completely vanished. Experts describe this as an invisible danger of desalination. When this waste is released directly into the sea, both the water's temperature and salinity increase, posing a serious threat to the entire coastal ecosystem. To prevent this new kind of environmental damage, the Saudi government is now working on deep-sea multi-diffusers. Instead of dumping brine in one location, it will be dispersed across multiple points in the ocean. The idea of brine mining is also under consideration, where valuable resources such as magnesium, potassium, and rare minerals can be extracted from the salt-reducing waste while turning it into a valuable asset. Today, Saudi Arabia has become the world's largest producer of desalinated water. Not only that, Guinness Book of World Records has recognized its water delivery system as the largest pipeline network in the world. And this network continues to expand. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's target is to meet 100% of the country's water requirements through this system by 2030. Another astonishing side of this project can be seen in the mountains. Laying pipelines across peaks that rise over 10,000 feet is already a massive challenge. But on top of that, enormous water pumping stations have been installed to push water uphill. These stations operate around the clock, pumping water 24/7, operate continuously. These pumping stations alone consume nearly 9% of Saudi Arabia's total electricity. It's as if rivers are flowing uphill. Instead of down from the mountains, Saudi Arabia's underground. River is not just a massive pipeline network. It's a declaration that water scarcity can be overcome with the help of technology. This project is still in its early stages, and the world expects many more improvements in the future. Today, the situation is such that a country with not a single natural river and no natural freshwater resources is set to host the World Water Forum in 2027. This sends a powerful message to the world. Even the most inhospitable environments can be transformed into something resilient and future-proof through determination and technology. And Saudi Arabia's message offers a new path, not just for individual countries, but for entire regions. We hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and share it, and thank you so much for your love and supportive comments. We'll see you again in the next amazing video.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.